question is, could Spurs or should Spurs have had a better season this year in the Premier League? Yes or no? And I'm going to give the answer yes, because the honest truth is, other than Manchester City and potentially Aston Villa, everyone else could have had a better season. You might say Bournemouth, kind of a surprise. You might say Crystal Palace had a good end to the season. But pretty much everyone else could have done better and could have done more than they did. So let's just leave it at that and say we got to do fact of the day before we get into anything else. Page number 281. Fact number 2. Japanese sheep go meh. Well, they don't go bah, they go meh. And that's kind of how I feel about the general season. 5th in the Premier League for Spurs isn't terrible. It's progress, and progress is good under any circumstance. Spurs finished 8th last year, 5th this year. I think the thing that grates a lot of fans was the fact that the way the team started the season was so unbelievably good. It was to such a high degree and level that they fell off really hard when the team faced a handful of injuries and suspensions and team players going away to international competitions. I think 4th was very realistic 10 games into the season. When we got to 20, I said, this is looking very, very possible. As we got to 30, I said, this is a fight. And unfortunately, it just didn't really fall in Spurs' favour this year. It means it's good, but it's not great. Arsenal, good. They had a good season. They didn't have a great season because they didn't win anything, and they finished 2nd in the league. Liverpool had a good season. They won the League Cup. They finished 3rd. Jurgen Klopp's last year. It's what it is. Aston Villa did surprisingly well, but I do feel when you look at the overall table and you see where Chelsea finished, really racking up the points in the last 10 games, United struggling heavily, Newcastle not doing as well as they did last year. I think Europa League for Spurs next year is going to be a good test to show the squad depth, to show that we need more players of a certain quality so that we can adapt and make sure that even if there are injuries, that our first 11 doesn't get altered too much, because that's where the major problem came this year. After that Chelsea game where Romero got a red card, Udogie got a red card, and Van de Ven and Maddison got injured in that game. That wrecked the season for us. I think it was a showing of Andrew's naivety in the Premier League, but also the fact that he's not willing to back down. And he will keep going no matter what with his methods and systems, and he's not going to say, I'm going to change. He's going to say, we're going to do what we're going to do, and we're going to play the way we're going to play, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, it doesn't, but eventually the team will buy in. And in those first 10 games, Spurs looked smooth, and then it just fell apart because of, I think specifically, that injury to Van de Ven. He was out for maybe 6 to 8 weeks, and the team did not make enough ground up in that time for when he came back. Dragozin was a good buy, but he came in right at the end of the window when Van de Ven was about to come back, and then Van de Ven got injured again for a few weeks. So it was a stop-start season, but at the end of the day, 5th place is 5th place. It's better than 6th place. It's better than 7th place, and maybe 4th place wouldn't have been a good option for Spurs this year. Maybe it would have been too much too soon in some ways, and it wouldn't have given us a real reflection of where the team and the squad is specifically. Because I think 1 to 11, we've got a really good team. The keeper, unbelievable. Right back, great. Left back, great. Centre backs, really, really high level. I think the issue is in the middle of the park, because I think Son as a left winger, unbelievable. Brennan Johnson on the right wing, really, really talented lad. And I can see him being a potentially world-class player in the next 10 years. The striker area is something that needs to be strengthened. Richarlison isn't it, all right? He did better than last year, but he ain't the guy. He thinks he's the guy. He thinks he is, but he's not. Nothing against him. He's not the guy, all right? Stop pretending like you're the guy. Get another guy. Because he's not good enough to be the guy. Centre midfield, big problem area. There were purple patches for many players during the season, but no one really stood out for me over the 38 games. I would argue Bentancur is the only player of the centre midfielders who is an assured starter, because Sarr was on and off. Basuma was great for the first 6 or 7 games. Just didn't do it for the rest of the season. Maddison is an attacking mid. I think maybe Giovanni Lo Celso leaving is not going to help the squad, because even though he is a piece of glass, he is very, very creative. And when he's on form, I do think he has a lot to give in a number 8 or a number 10 role. I wouldn't get rid of him. I think he's actually a very good utility player when he is fit, and potentially one more centre back. Other than that, I don't think the squad is in a bad place. I think it's potentially the best squad we've had since like 2021. Really, when we had that Bale squad with Son and Kane up front. There was something to that team which I feel like if it wasn't under lockdown conditions, that squad could have done a lot better than it did with a full stadium behind them. But that's just the history, that's the past, and you can't change it. So next season, baby, I'm saying the standouts, Tottenham finishing in the top 4. Maybe winning the Europa League, you never know. But Crystal Palace, they could be the team to look out for. Unless their manager gets swiped by Liverpool and there's a change in what's happening there, I think Crystal Palace could have a real run next season. Don't quote me on it. But if it happens, then quote me on it, because I said it here. That's where I said it. Now, after I've said that, there's only one other thing to say, and the word is skadoosh.